Don't start thinking this is your show. Honestly, she's parked herself up there like she's waiting for paparazzi. Well, it's that time of year again, my friends. I don't mean the time where I go through a crisis and I dye my hair. I also don't mean that happiest time of the year or even New Year resolution time. No, instead I mean it is that time of the year where we start creating challenges for ourselves so that our 2025 reading can be all that we want it to be. That's right, my friends. It is time for the Bingo Board from Hell 2025. And welcome back to another video. That's right, you did in fact hear me correctly. It is time to launch the Bingo Board from Hell for 2025. Roll up to have your feelings hurt, your brain confuddled, and your reading made just a little bit spicier than last year. And just like last year, the Bingo Board from Hell is for everyone. You too can make arbitrary reading goals to make yourself feel super accomplished by the end of next year. So stick around to the end of this video to see how to get your hands on the instruction booklet and the blank templates for this year's board. As you guys are well aware by this point, I am wild about this project. Do you know the other thing that I'm wild about? Sustainable, natural products for my poor winter skin. And that's where today's sponsors come in. Wild! Wild's mission is to bring you personal care products that are not only vegan and cruelty free, but are as kind to your skin as they are to our planet. Wild believes in sustainability, and that is why their new refillable range uses high quality for life cases and fully recyclable refills. And if you are anything like me and you are chasing the dopamine on these dark filled nights, then you are going to absolutely love their latest collaboration with Emma Bridgewater. This collaboration for the festive season make the perfect cases for a pop of little seasonal festive cheer, but the design is cute and classic enough to carry you through the rest of your year and beyond. Wild are launching 3 new absolutely delicious winter scents. We have Enchanted Forest, we have Arctic Ice Queen, and we have my absolute favourite Sugar Plum Fairy. Now, I am a typical Pisces. I love me a fruity scent, and with Sugar Plum Fairy you are getting top notes of sugar plums, middle notes of mouth-watering berries, and bottom notes of perfect peach. I don't think they could have made a more me combination. I am, as we speak, absolutely bedecked by these scents because not only are they available in the refillable deodorants, but they are also refillable body washes. And I should point out that even though you might want to eat the lip balm because so tasty and right under your nose, you really shouldn't actually do that. So if you would like to grab yourself some seasonal scents while protecting our planet, then you can use my code on screen, Leanne33, to get 33% off in Wild's Black Friday sale. That is the biggest discount that Wild has ever had. And I don't know about you, but I think I need myself more body washes. Alrighty, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, let's get these sleeves well and truly rolled up because we mean business. If you are new here, you are maybe just discovering my channel through this video because it does go a little bit stratospheric every year. The Bingo Board from Hell was a challenge that I came up with in 2023 to try and address the areas of my reading that I was finding problematic. My original bingo board just kind of got thrown together in an evening of complete frustration with me just listing all of the things that I wanted to improve about my reading. Well, in 2024 we got a little bit more serious and we leveled up. We are obviously all eagerly awaiting the results, and when I say all, I include myself in that. I don't know how many bingos I'm gonna get. Your girl is on the bus of struggle. But it's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine. It's all for fun. The whole idea of the Bingo Board from Hell is to give you something visual in your life which will constantly remind you of the things that you want to do. You can print it out and stick it in your journal. You can put it on your calendar. You can print it double on some stocky card and stand it up on your desk to shame you. I mean, motivate you every day. It just so happened that you guys loved it enough that last year, hundreds of you, like a scary amount of you, participated in the challenge, and I am now awaiting the influx of all of your numbers and results. Some of you have already done a hell of a lot better than me. And just like last year, a new guides and tips book is going to be available for you along with your blank Bingo Board from Hell. So there are 2 exciting parts to the Bingo Board from Hell. First, there's what's it going to look like? What is this year's theme? And secondly, there's what are Leanne's crazy insane goals. She just done told us to make ours achievable, but hers probably aren't. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear her snoring in the background. She really does think that she's the star of the show. We're on her time now. By putting this cat tree here, I have created a monster. So 2024's bingo board from hell was clearly a very literal apocalyptic theme. I felt like my reading had got to a point where I desperately needed to change some of my habits. It literally did feel like meteors and flames. And I now kind of feel like my relationship with my book collection has changed. So as with all of my projects, I usually give my patrons a little bit of a say. So if you want a little bit of a say in any of my future far-reaching projects, you can join us in the little ghostly town of Lochfair, where we sprint and read books together and support all of our weird dreams. And this time around, what my patrons got to choose was the colour scheme. So they got the option of palette A, palette B, or palette C. And the winner was, ding ding ding, this one. I would describe this palette as dark, moody and purpley, but it gave me plenty of inspiration to work from, and so without any further ado, I present to you the Bingo Board from Hell 2025. The hotel themed version. Why is it hotel themed, I hear you say? Well, it used to feel to me like my books were trapped in some sort of purgatory. I was torturing them by the amount of dust that they were gathering, by the amount of times that I skipped over them and said, no, I shan't read you today. Shall instead read this other thing that will not achieve any of my goals. And now I feel less like my books are suffering and more like they're checked into a luxury long stay hotel. Unfortunately, some of them do actually have do not disturb on their door, and others, well, others are ringing that concierge bell just constantly. They want that attention and I'm not providing. I also feel like the way that I've smuggled books into my collection this year has felt a little bit like handing things to a bellhop and just being like, so as always, you have a couple of options for your bingo board from hell for 2025. You will have a completely blank board option, and you will also have an option with all of my goals on it, but with a blank space next to the amount. So you can choose to come on my journey and have the exact same goals as me, but to choose how many books you would like to fulfill those goals, or there will be an identical board to mine. My challenge is my insane number amount. Come on that roller coaster with me. You'll also get all of these individual cute little icons that are on the board to decorate your own bingo board and your social media with. Alright, I can't actually put it off anymore. Let's talk about my goals for 2025. Ooh, age-old question. Do we go across the rows or down the columns? Let's go down the columns. I don't think we've ever done that before. We'll spice it up with something new and daring like my hair. Just kidding. The hair's less daring and new and more if I bleach it one more time it will all fall off. So the first square on my 2025 bingo board for hell might actually come as a little bit of a surprise to you guys who have only just joined my channel in the last couple of years, but that square is to read 10 classics or modern classics. For those of you who have been around on my channel since the beginning, first of all, you're old now. But second of all, you will remember that I used to read a lot of classics and modern classics. I studied literature in university. I focused on the 19th century novel, but I also did a whole lot of other stuff, and I have always loved me a classic. But when I look over my reading for the last 5 years or so, there are none. Okay, well that's maybe a slight exaggeration. There's maybe like 1, 2 or 3 rereads of classics that I used to absolutely love, but there are definitely very few brand new to me classics or modern classics. And I realised a couple of months ago that I miss the feeling that those books give me. And it's funny because the concept of 10 being a modest goal really does come from my progress on my 2024 bingo board, wherein 10 actually turned out to be quite a low goal for some of my squares. Next up in this column we have a very familiar square, and that is to read non-fiction books. This square has been present in the last 2 bingo boards, and it came about because I was concerned that I wasn't actually prioritising non-fiction in my reading. Because I love it, this entire bookcase behind me is essentially non-fiction, but it's definitely one of the collections in my library where I bring a lot of books into, but there isn't actually a lot of turnover. So I want to continue addressing that this year, because when I counted my read to unread non-fiction for 2024, it wasn't great. And you'll note that this time around I have gone for 20, because in the last 2 bingo boards I have set 10 as a goal for myself, and I have wildly smashed through that barrier to the point that it's no longer challenging. And although we want the goals on this bingo board to be achievable, we do also want them to be a tiny bit spicy so that they continue to motivate us and give us the dopamine like a little slot machine when we do the thing. Next up, At the bottom of this column, we once again have a very, very familiar square. That square is finish 5 series. Now we know that finishing series has also been a priority on both of my previous bingo boards. It will never not be a priority. I am a series reader, but finishing series is one of my most difficult things. Partially because I procrastinate the end of series because I don't want them to end, and sometimes because I get stalled on a book and can't make myself move forward. Which is a thing that I heard a lot from you guys last year when we were making our bingo boards. Lots and lots of you said that although these are all priorities for you, they're all things that you want to do so badly, you have somehow been finding yourself not able to do that. So hopefully doing these bingo boards together will help you to do that. Now, I have had several variations of this square on past bingo boards, whether that was finish a set number of books or finish a set number of series. And this time around, for the first time ever, I have 2 squares for series books. So I also have the next square up in this column, which is to read 10 series tracker books. Now there was a little bit of debate when I revealed to my patrons that I was going to be doing 2 squares related to my series tracker. Some people felt like the book shouldn't count for both things, but I disagree entirely with that. And if you decide to do your bingo board like this, I would suggest that you do it in the same way that I am, because you might be like me. You might say, for example, make progress in 10 separate series, which would be great for the 10 series tracker book square. But without any kind of way to track whether you're finishing those series, you might be stuck under the illusion that you're making great progress, but you might actually still be in that cycle of just reading things but not actually completing anything. I'm gonna get the double dopamine hit of counting it in both places, because the hard reality of this is for me that I might very well read 10 books off of my series tracker. But right now, the way that I'm feeling, I find that it's highly unlikely that I'm going to finish 5 series. This feels like a massive stretch goal for me right now, so we're gonna hold each other's hands during this. Now, popping back up to the top and going in order of the columns again, the next square is also one that you guys are very, very familiar with, and that is my read 60% of the books that you purchase this year square. I popped this square on my very first bingo board and I said I'm going to read 80% of the books that I buy in a year, and wow, did I find out that that was not an achievable goal. Since 2023, I have been tracking my book buying so much more closely. My buying habits have changed so much. Every one of our buying habits are going to be completely different based on our circumstances, our storage space, our preferences, our disposable income. So when I say that for me, my buying habits are much more healthy and sustainable, I really am only talking about me and my experience. Where I'm at right now, I'm so much happier with my personal book buying. Which, in case you're not catching what I'm putting down here, is not a comment on your book buying. If you also want to join me in the 60% challenge, then saddle up, partner, we are riding at dawn. But if for you that is a wildly unachievable number, you can put that percentage at whatever suits you. You might want to read 90% of the books that you bring in. You similarly might want to read 20% of the books that you bring in. You do you, boo. For me, 60% is a little bit of a stretch goal. It's very, very scary to try and reach for that 60%, but it's so much fun. So the number will stay at 60%. We will continue to have 60% diaries vlogs in 2025. Hopefully there'll be just a chance that I bingo one of the rows with this square on it. The next square that I have is the middle square on my board, and it's the only one that doesn't really have a number associated with it, and that is the clear a shelf goal. So every year for me, it feels like I change at least one square on my bingo board from hell. In 2023, I redid the bottom row halfway through the year, and in 2024, I think I changed 2 squares out of the entire board, and that is something that I want to encourage you guys to do if you do take part in this challenge. Just because the goals at the start of the year felt like they were right for you doesn't mean that halfway through the year they're going to meet your needs. So don't be scared to yeet out some of the squares on this board that just don't work for you. If you find that you give yourself something like the emoji challenge square, which I had at the start of 2024, where I was going to roll for a random emoji and find a book that fit that emoji, and I just wasn't reaching for it, I just didn't care about it, then bin it and put something else in that maybe helps to triage your reading halfway through the year. Maybe you've noticed a trend that you want to fix, or there's maybe a genre that you've picked up that you're super excited about and you want to try and read more from that. Whatever the motivator is for you, make sure that you make this board work for you. Goals and dreams should not be static. We should be allowed to change them whenever we want. So in 2024, I added the clear a shelf goal. Now I can tell you right now, I am not going to manage to clear the shelf that I said that I was going to for 2024. I've read a couple of books from it, but it's just not going to happen. So I am going to attempt this again in 2025. I'm going to pick another shelf from my library and I'm going to try to read all of the unread books on that shelf so that that entire shelf is completed. And I'm going to add the rule that if I happen to buy any books during 2025 that fit on that shelf, because my bookshelves are done by paperback and hardback and then by alphabetical order just because of the size of my shelves. If I could have the whole thing in alphabetical order and fit them all in, then I absolutely would, but I can't. If in 2025 I clear a shelf and then I buy a book that belongs on that shelf, I also have to read that book or I won't be able to bingo this square. This might make me more mindful about the books that I buy in 2025, but I doubt it. What I think is going to happen is I'm going to work really hard on this. I'm going to bingo the box and then I'm going to be like, oh no, when I go to put a haul away on my shelves. You guys often assume that I'm like super organised and that I put forethought into everything, but it's not the case. We are just like chaosing over here. We are doggy paddling on the waves of, oh no, what have you done? Finally, for this column, we have another familiar square, but with a much higher number on it. We have listen to 30 audiobooks. I was trying desperately to get back into audiobooks in 2023, and in 2024 I finally found the way that they worked for me the most. I don't have an actual count of how many audiobooks that I have listened to so far in 2024, but there are a lot. So I mean, reasonably I could say, well, you fixed the audiobook problem so you don't need this square. But I want some fun, achievable squares that I can tick off to keep us motivated, because if everything's hard all the time, we're not going to do it. So I have upped the number in this square to 30 because that is much more realistic for me at this present point of where I'm at. Who knows what will happen in 2025? So we know what is at the top of the final column. In the middle of the final column, I have got read 10 library books. I finally managed to get myself a digital subscription to a few different libraries in my area in 2024. This wasn't available to me previously. I think it's definitely been an effect of the pepperoni that libraries have changed the way that they lend around me and in my area, and that has meant that a lot more things that I actually want to access are available to me, because my physical libraries around me were just like, I don't know, 42 book James Patterson crime series. But now that I actually have the option of accessing my library, and now that I also have the goal of continuing to track my spending and how and why I buy books in 2025, I have a goal of reading 10 books from the library. And for me, I will also say I'm thinking about this as 10 try as you buy books. So I'm not going to count books for this square that I have physically and I've maybe got the audiobook from my library, or that I am reading digitally while I'm out and about but I have a hardback copy of at home. For me, those books won't count. This square is simply going to be 10 new to me books that I get from the library that I don't own in any other format, that I am trying before I decide whether I want to actually purchase that book for my permanent collection. And then finally, the last square in this board is, you guessed it, my TBR Veterans square. We did start a vlog series this year, which is me reading all of my TBR Veterans. So the oldest books that have existed in my library that just keep getting pushed to the back and to the back. Most of the books on that list right now are pre-2023, but one of the things that I realised is that the more years of this Bingo Board from Hell challenge that we do, the more books there are that I have bought in those years which are making their way onto my TBR Veterans. So there are definitely some books in 2023, and there's going to be some books in 2024 that I'm not going to read for my read 60% of your purchases square, and the older those books get, the longer they sit on my shelves, the more likely they are to become TBR veterans and to just continue to gather dust and not be priorities for me. So I have popped 10 on the goal for this because my 60% diaries vlogs are definitely going to be much more frequent than my TBR veterans vlogs are, because it takes me a lot more like gumption and gusto to dig into my TBR veterans books. So we're going to keep this goal low and hope that I under promise and over deliver. Now, the final point to get to about the bingo board from hell is how it works when we complete the goals off and what we get for prizes. In 2023, I had a very vague prize system that I threw together halfway through because I wasn't actually thinking about the bingo board as needing prizes. I was just thinking about it more as like, oh my goodness, I really need to focus on all of these things. But in 2024, when I had a lot more forethought being put into the challenge, I definitely ended up coming up with a prize system for myself. Then I didn't use it. I haven't used my prize system once, and that is really for me because I like to watch my numbers on this board accumulate throughout the year, and I really don't want to be trying to work out when I should take prizes, what the prizes should be. I'm just not organised enough for that. For me personally, for my 2025 board, the prize is probably just going to be finishing the board. But I know that that is absolutely not going to work to motivate all of you guys. So if that doesn't work for you and what you would prefer to do instead is allocate yourself prizes for finishing these squares, then please absolutely go ahead and do that. So once again, you do you, whatever suits your brain best. Get as wild with it as you want to or keep it as simple as you want to. It is really whatever works for you. Now, as I've said before, you can get all of the boards, all of the icons and all of the guidebook tips down below in the description. If you don't have Photoshop or Procreate or any of those programs, then you can of course just use Canva to put your board together. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's my bingo board from hell for 2025. I hope you like it. I hope you like the colour scheme and the artwork. I hope you're super excited to join in. If you have got all the way to the end of this video, then leave me the little hotel building emoji down below in the comments for our hotel theme. And please tell me what your top goal is for 2025. What is the thing that you most want to address about your reading for the next year? And maybe what is the thing in 2024 that you have found the most difficult about your reading? That's a good question. Remember, if you would like to get your hands on the amazing 33% discount that Wild are having for Black Friday, then you can use my code Leanne33 here on the screen and my link down in the description box to join me in smelling fabulous and fresh. If you are new to my channel and you would like to see how I get on with my 2025 bingo board, then please remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you are one of my returning subscribers and a fellow bingo board from hell journeyer, then please hit that thumbs up on the way out because it really does help my channel, and I will speak to all of you guys super soon. Bye!